अर्ज ये है कि तकरीबन 19 फरवरी पाकिस्तानी से मुलाकात हुई। उस पाकिस्तानी के जरिए कुछ चाइनीज शख्सियात से इनकी मुलाकात हुई जिन्होंने इनको जॉब और वीज़ा एम्प्लॉयमेंट वीज़ा की ऑफर की। 2 महीने तक ये तीनों बच्चे
यहाँ से रवानगी किसी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के तहत नहीं थी, इन्फॉर्म नहीं था। ये गए विजिट वीज़ा पे थाईलैंड, वहाँ पे इन्होंने किसी कंपनी के साथ पे करी।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू। मेरी तमाम लोगों से अपील है, ग्रुप के मेंबरों से, फेसबुक के, इंस्टाग्राम से, ट्विटर के तमाम लोगों से सबसे मेरी अपील है
शेरोज और बाशी हुसैन वो भी वही है, वो भी तशद्दुद का इशारा हो रहे हैं वहाँ पर।
Hello, my name is Victoria.
My brothers are now presenting in the Manmara country.
Selam Tayland'a kararlardım. Söyledi ki sabahlar falandı. Orada bir zayıfladım. Yalnız var bakalım.
I am the translate to Myanmar for work. Can you say that?
Has been 3 months. She was not able to take her medication. She was taken suicide again.
Muhammad is my son and he was held from last 3 years in the hand of Chinese mafia.
My father, I was doing.
My name is Salam Funtokan. I'm brother.
Start go to Myanmar on July 4, 2025.
My brother is subject to service and abuse human. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's basically video compiled by the Civil Society Network for Human Trafficking Victims here in Thailand that works in assisting victims of human trafficking from scam centers on the Thai-Myanmar border. And I know that a lot of that was in various different languages, and it really truly reflects how international the issue of cyber scam is, which is right on our doorstep here, next, around the borderland of Thailand. The border areas between Thailand, actually Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia, have become hubs for online fraud since COVID-19 pandemics. And the United Nations says billions of dollars have been earned from the trafficking of hundreds of thousands of people from around the world who are forced to work in scam compounds. This exhibition and event, as I mentioned, is put on by the Civil Society Network for Human Trafficking Victims and their allies. And it focuses, as you've seen when you walk through the club, on the scam centers on the Thai-Myanmar border, where victims from all parts of the world are suffering inside, many awaiting rescue. Some have been rescued, as we've seen throughout the years, various news, but many remain trapped, tortured, starved, stripped of dignity, or are left to die. The organizer said this is not just an art show, but a reflection of real situation. The exhibition and panel discussion exposed the silence that allows these crimes to continue, pulling back the curtain to let the truth speak for itself, with the hope that this transnational crime will finally be suppressed and every victim can return to their loved ones. So I want to invite all the panelists to come up on the stage and please sit where your name card is, please. We have several, as you've probably seen in our gloves, we have many speakers this evening. Some have dropped off, some remain speakers. And some of them will join us online. So I'll just quickly introduce them while they're getting settled in. We have Eunice Barbara Novio, journalist from the Inquirer in the Philippines. Online, we have His Excellency Lindsay Kiptinis, the former ambassador of the Republic of Kenya to Thailand. Next to Eunice, we have Jason Tower, an expert and authority on cyber scams in this part of the world. Next to me, I have Pichalita Pajariansuk, chairperson of the People's Empower Foundation. I think joining us online later on, we have Thai lawmakers Kanovi Sutsang, who's the Secretary General of the Fair Party and is the chairperson for the Peace and Rights Foundation. And of course, we have Kapani Yasishai, a Thai journalist who, yeah, you can come up, or whenever you're ready, can come up to the panel. So, I don't want to hang on too much. I want to start off by going first to Eunice, simply because I think many of the victims, we've seen the scam crackdown early on in this year. We've seen a lot of victims who are Chinese, but many of the victims are also Filipinos. So I want to go to Eunice first because she has a short presentation, and then I'll move on to several others on the line. Thank you. Eunice, please take it away.
Okay, so my presentation is about the Filipino trafficking victims in Mayawadi. So I have been working with JTBTS since 2023. So these are the profiles of the Filipinos who were trafficked to Myanmar. Where are the slides?
There.
Okay, so as early as 2022 to 2025, thousands of Filipinos were lured to work by fake online job offering high-paying positions in Thailand but ended up in scam hubs in Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. So the data provided in this presentation is based on my news reports I filed for Inquirer.net from May 2023 to October 2025. So this is the overview. So Filipinos have been trafficked into forced labor. Many has paid as much as $10,000 for their freedom. If they want to leave the scam hubs, they have to pay. Victims are lured by fake overseas job advertisements, particularly in Facebook, which promise high-paying jobs. Okay, so these are the examples of false advertisements on Facebook. So promises of free airfare, free accommodation allowances. So you can see that they have their job offering is mainly in Thailand. Okay, so the mode of recruitment, so online job offers via social media. So victims of postings on Facebook or messaging apps, Messenger, Telegram, offering high-paying overseas positions. So it's not really a scam, but online customer service or data entry jobs in Thailand, salary offer of 80,000 to 120,000 pesos monthly, so that, or roughly 60,000 baht. Okay, so they are traffic to scam compounds. Okay, third party or agent recruitment. So recruited through unlicensed individuals posing as legitimate recruiters or job coordinators. So they assisted them in processing the travel documents and airfare for jobs in Bangkok. So it's always in Bangkok. Word of mouth, peer recruitment. So they recruited just like multi-level marketing. So just like that. So my friend works there, earns a lot, so you used to build trust. Deceptive travel arrangement. So trafficker arranged travel to Thailand, Bangkok, or Mesot, but victims are transported across the border to Myanmar. So fake recruitment agencies and online platforms. So this is how the scam operations flow chart. So the scam centers have different operations, dating, gambling, and investment sites. So that's how it goes, the cycle. So they have the target audience, women and gay clients, financial executive, rich Filipinas. So they have platforms like Ask ni Madison, Seeking.com, what's your price? Cupid, Miss Travel, Asian Cupid, and then on client acquisition. So usually they use social media, X accounts, Meta verified, so bankers, managers, retirees, and professionals. So all of us are prone to become victims of scam. Building trust, so scammers use personas, Filipinos for Filipinas, Singaporean for gay clients, gay lovers trust. So a Filipino can pose as a Eastern European woman or Singaporean. So and then they will, when they already gain the trust, they ask for investments, so wire transfer by USDT and crypto. They pay to crypto. And then the cycle continues, and then the client drop. So roots and chop process. So this in the Philippines, so it's quite complicated. So because they don't use the usual route, so they use the backdoor because the Philippines is an island. So you can see here, the yellow line is the usual route. So that is airplane. So Manila to Bangkok, or Manila to Sabah or Malaysia. And then the blue one, so these are land travel, and then they have to cross the seas using boats. So they have to cross Sabah or Palawan. So it's more Palawan. And then some of them cross Brunei, and then boat travel to Malaysia. And then some of them would take the plane from Malaysia to Cambodia. Okay, so, and then they will arrive in Bangkok, and then from Bangkok they will be driven to Quezon, and then cross the river to Miyawadi. So that is the chop-chop, we call that chop-chop process. So these are the passport stamps. So this exit stamp is invalid since the HPD did not exit at NAIA or at the airport. Now, when they arrive in Cambodia, so via sea, okay, so they exited the airport, so this is valid now. And then from Cambodia, so some of them flew to Kota Kinabalu. So it is also valid. So from Kota Kinabalu, some of them would be driven to the south of Thailand. So from the south of Thailand, they will take the domestic flight. So because they don't have to go to the immigration. So from the north of Thailand, then to Don Muang, they don't have to go to the immigration. Okay, so estimated age distribution, so 20 to 51 years old, but recently, last week, we have a rescue of 55-year-old Filipino. Some are professionals with backgrounds in IT and working Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGO, we call that POGO. Some have experience working abroad, some have student visas and business visas. Okay, so this is just an estimate of the age bracket because the after they were rescued, so the Philippine Embassy does not release the profile of the rescued Filipinos. Okay, so total number of repatriation. Okay, so March 25, 2025, so I just start here. So major repatriation of traffic Filipinos, 176, coordinated by the Philippine Embassy, Yangon, KK, and DMW, Myanmar and Thai authorities. Okay, August 18 to 19, male, female. We don't have the data for male, female here. 11, 7 female, so 18. So the same. August 22, rescue and repatriation. Okay, 34, 1 female victim pregnant, group rescued from scam compounds. Okay, so 235, that is from October 7. March 25 to October 7, 235. but we don't have update for the 5 others who were still in Mesot as of last week, but we don't know anymore where are they now. So this is the latest. October 8, rescue of 14 Filipinos from DKBA controlled areas. So until now, they are still staying at DKBA shelter. So October 24, so that's when the crackdown started. So 66 here now, they have crossed the border already. Okay, October 26, 220. As of October 28, 220. That is the total number of Filipinos still awaiting documentation in Mesot. So there are still around 91 in Mayawadi, 91 Filipinos in Mayawadi. Okay, so until now, we are monitoring the rescue operation at the border. So actually, I'm in constant communication with the victims and the families. So with J3. So this data was provided by former Police Attaché Colonel Dominador Matalang. So 802 since March. So from 2022 until March, no, not since March, until March when he left. So why Filipinos fall for scam? Lack of opportunities in the home country. So there were 2.7 million unemployed as of 2024. So legal jobs offered abroad by the government may be costly and highly competitive. So the hurdles in securing permits and other documents necessary to work abroad are discouraging, and of course, poverty and corruption. So the Philippines is actually a labor exporting country. Okay, so my presentation ends. So without Kritia, we do not know how are we going to rescue our people working at scam center. So we all owe it to her.
Thank you, Eunice. Next, I want to go quickly to His Excellency Lindsay Kiptines, who's online, joining us online, who's a former ambassador of the Republic of Kenya to Thailand. Ambassador Kiptines, are you on? Can you hear me? Ambassador?
ค่ะคุณผู้ชมเมื่อสักครู่ก็เป็นในส่วนของนักข่าวชาวฟิลิปปินส์นะคะที่มีการพูดถึงในเรื่องของตัวเลขนะคะคุณผู้ชมสำหรับผู้ที่ถูกหลอกมาเป็นสแกมเมอร์ในทั้งไทยลาวกัมพูชาแล้วก็รวมไปถึงประเทศหลักๆที่มีการนำเสนอข้อมูลคือเมียนมานะคะคุณผู้ชมก็ตามที่เราเคยนำเสนอไปนะคะซึ่งพบจากปัญหาความยากจนภายในประเทศทำให้จะต้องเดินทางมาทำงานอย่างประเทศเพื่อนบ้านผ่านการถูกเสนอข้อเสนอที่ดีๆนะคะคุณผู้ชมเดี๋ยวไปติดตามฟังเสียงผู้เสียหายกันค่ะ
I wish I was on the ground in Bangkok. I just left Bangkok at the end of September. I would have loved to join you guys in exchanging our views and our experiences on this grave matter of human trafficking. Nevertheless, because of the advent of technology, we can meet virtually. So I want to take this opportunity to say that the choice of words for this panel discussion, the blatant truth, is very ideal for the issue that we are facing at hand. It is very important that we speak and lay the facts fairly. We lay the facts. We speak the truth without fear or intimidation, without hiding anything. Both victims and those who have been involved in the rescue and repatriation should speak bluntly and boldly. And so I am with all the victims and their families from across the world, those who have faced these dehumanizing acts of scamming and violation of human rights in the scam compounds in Myanmar and Cambodia and in the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone in Lao PDR. And I'm speaking from experience. I have been to all those places and I have seen what happens there. And so this is a very important panel discussion, very important exhibition, and it is my desire and wish that we continue having such discussions, not just at FCCT, but everywhere, even at the international level. It is only through raising advocacy on this heinous crime that we can be able to reduce, if not eliminate, these violations that are right in front of our faces. What is going on inside the scam compounds in Myanmar and the other two countries is the description of crimes against humanity. In my own view, I have seen Kenyans being tortured. I have rescued Kenyans who have broken limbs. Some have become half blind because of being locked in dark rooms for 7 days or more because they have refused to work. Some are taken to prisons within the compounds and whipped and beaten. Some have undergone or experienced sexual slavery and forced prostitution, forced labor. As a matter of fact, we lost one Kenyan. This is one thing that always continues to haunt me because of my inability to rescue her. She kept calling me, "Ambassador, if you don't come, I'm going to die." The family in Kenya kept calling me, "Ambassador, please rescue our daughter." A 21-year-old Kenyan lost her life in the scam compounds after a botched operation on her stomach. Sometimes when I reflect on what happened and my inability to rescue her, I cry. The world must be told about the things happening in those scam compounds without fear. The truth must be laid bare to the UN, ASEAN, African Union. Must speak boldly about this, must stop this. So I am speaking from what I have seen with my own eyes. And the interviews that we have undertaken with hundreds of Kenyans who have been rescued. To date, we have rescued over 500 Kenyans from the scam compounds in Myanmar and in the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone. We have rescued Ugandans, Burundians, Rwandese, Senegalese, Cameroonians, without counting, without saying that they are not Kenyans. Personally, I consider myself number one as a human being. And I have no fear of helping somebody that I am able to help, whether he's green or white or yellow or black like me. They are all human beings and their rights have been violated. Their basic rights have been violated by criminals, by mafia gangs operating in the name of investments in those scam compounds. So the description of today's theme is quite correct. And what is happening in those scam compounds amounts to crimes against humanity. And we must speak as such. I am sharing with you some of the experiences that I have gone through and the records that we have taken with the hundreds of Kenyans that we have rescued. As my colleague from the Philippines has said, human trafficking for forced labor in the scam compound begins with advertisements in the Kenyan media or in social forums like Telegram, like WhatsApp. And gullible Kenyans who are looking for employment quickly apply for these jobs, and they are recruited at an astonishing speed. They do the interview and they are told you have the job, and the job is in Thailand. Various jobs, public relations jobs, drivers, chefs or cooks, workers, translators, and they use the name of Thailand. And Thailand being a beautiful country, very popular for tourists, who doesn't want to go and work in Thailand? So Thailand has been used wrongly by the criminal gangs operating in the scam compounds in the name of investments. And I've always urged the government and the people of Thailand not to allow their country to be used online as a destination for fake jobs and a transit country. All the Kenyans who have gone and become victims in Myanmar and Cambodia and in Lao PDR have gone through Thailand. I'm happy to note that the Embassy of Thailand has put in very tough measures at the moment at the embassy in Nairobi, so that it has become very difficult for you to get a tourist visa to go to Thailand. Only the right people now get visas to enter Thailand. This I commend the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand and their embassy. We have worked closely with them to stem this flow, because I believe prevention is better than cure. What we are doing at the moment is curing a disease in which we can prevent at the source. In the case of Kenya, the source being Kenya. But the traffickers have tricks up their sleeve always. At the moment, the victims from Kenya go through Malaysia. Why Malaysia? Malaysia has an MOU with Kenya on free visa entry for 30 days. So the Kenyans who still fall victim to recruitment agents based in Kenya and in the scam compounds travel through Malaysia. So they don't go to the embassy of Thailand anymore. Once they enter Malaysia, they sneak into Thailand and into Cambodia through illegal routes, what I may call in my language panya routes that are not manned by enforcement agents. So as we are fighting to scale down the activities of the scam compounds and rescue people, others are coming in. I have exerted pressure on my government to ensure that we engage in preventive measures back at home in Kenya so that we can reduce the number. And this also applies to other countries that have had victims in the scam compounds. I'm talking of over 18 countries. Majority from Asia and from Africa. The list is long. We have had even forums with all the ambassadors in Bangkok in an effort to raise the profile, in an effort to raise advocacy for these crimes happening across the border. Of course, once the interviewees, once they are told they have the job and the job is in Thailand, they apply for visas at the Thai embassy. And most of the applications are done by the recruitment agent based in Kenya, not by the victims. And once they get the tourist visa, they enter Thailand, where they are received by the agents, by the scam agents based in Bangkok, and they are driven for 9 hours to Mesot, where they spend the night. And at around 5 a.m. in the morning, they are sneaked across the border into the scam compound. As I said earlier on, I have been engaging the government of Thailand at the embassy and pointing out the areas of weakness flow of victims of human trafficking. The tourist visa has been the most abused visa because all the victims that have gone into those scam compounds have been using the visa to enter Thailand, and then they are transported across the border to the scam compounds. But I'm happy to note that Thailand has taken this matter seriously, and it is now very difficult to obtain a tourist visa at the Thai embassy in Nairobi. Let me share with you some of the most typical periods of my experience in Thailand when I was ambassador in dealing with these issues. Of course, the nightmare of rescuing and repatriating victims from another country. We are based in Thailand and the victims are in Myanmar. And Myanmar, the areas where they are a no-go zone. It is a conflict area. Definitely we cannot go there. So you can imagine how we were going to get the people out. And I want to say that we have great friends like Jane. We have other NGOs working at the border and inside Myanmar, the government of Thailand. And by the way, some of the rebel groups like DKDA, I will not fear to speak because it's what we say today, like the BGF, some of the commanders have been very helpful to us. Although at some point, when we confronted some of them, they said that they leased the land to the investors. They call those people investors who come, foreign direct investors, who come to invest in the land, to open the country. Here are some of the excuses we have received. But within this investment are criminals who then engage in scamming. We all know that majority of the victims are American businessmen and retirees. But they have also gone across to other parts of the world. It is a global problem that threatens global security, that threatens to engulf the mainstream economies if countries don't do something about it. So I'm talking about the nightmare of rescuing people. The most traumatizing part was the rescue of 154 Kenyans after the Chinese government and the government of Thailand conducted raids and cut off infrastructure into the scam compounds. Over 10,000 victims were released between March and April this year. So we were faced with a nightmare of getting these people out of Myawaddy into Thailand, from Thailand to Kenya. I remember one group stayed in Myawaddy for 50 days without food, very little food. NGOs came in to help, without medical facilities, without water. They were just crying and calling ambassador, help us. And the ambassador was very helpless in Bangkok. And I want to thank all our friends inside Myanmar and in Thailand. They know themselves. I just want to thank them from the bottom of my heart for feeding those Kenyans for 50 days until we got tickets for them, until we streamlined our cooperation with the government of Thailand, and eventually we got the last batch of 78 in April 2025. You can imagine the number of calls I was getting. Some of the families think that the ambassador is doing nothing. The government of Kenya is doing nothing. But we are working around the clock to return the victims back home. I never slept. Let me share with you one experience. I don't know how many of you have actually met or to some of them marveled a video call from a Kenyan who was being beaten, and he was screaming. His nose was broken and saying, "Ambassador, please help me, I'm going to die. I don't want to die." And the leader came on the video and said, "Aha, so you are the ambassador of Kenya, trying to rescue my slaves, my slave." We are talking of modern slavery. And I asked him why he was holding my people. And he said they are his slaves. And if I wanted them, and then I must remit $12,000 for him to release the victim or his slave. On further inquiries, he informed me that he had paid 45,000 Chinese RMB to buy the Kenya. So the mafia gangs are literally buying people. And so when they buy people, if they want to leave, they must return the money. Families across the board, not just from Kenya, Ethiopia, Philippines, Pakistan, Brazil, Uganda, they have paid ransom money to have their children back home because they had been bought. So you must refund the money. We are talking of modern slavery right in front of our noses.
Ambassador,
The other problem that of course we face is the fact that most of, how many minutes do I have?
I think we've gone quite over time now because there's a lot of speakers. So you don't mind, I'll cut it there. I'll try to leave room for our audience to have some question and answer. But I think your point is taken, sir, in terms of modern day slavery and all the experience that you share. Thank you very much. And
no problem.
The connection's a bit.
Time I can come in with some challenges or with recommendations. No problem.
No problem, sir. No problem. We can get back to you after the others have their say. Thank you, Ambassador. Jason, I'm going to go next to you because you're an expert in this area. I think a lot of people sort of listening in, looking at the exhibition so far, probably wonders about the larger context of what's going on. I mean, even right now, we have ongoing military operations, if you like, in one of the major scam compounds called KK Park, just opposite the district of Mesot in Thailand. KK Park is in Myeongdi in Myanmar. And we have influx in the last few days of more than 1,000 people from, I think, 20 nations or something like that, crossing into Thailand. So Jason, I think we, can you just take us through the overall context? I know this is a big phenomenon that has been happening for many years, so please, you have the floor.
Thank you, and thanks especially to the organizers and to Jay for the invitation to be here this evening. Maybe we'll try to put things in context a little bit, but I'll try to focus especially on what's going on in the border area at the moment around this so-called crackdown or operation, or perhaps neither of those are quite the right word for it. Maybe even this current and most recent round of political theater that we're seeing play out on the border at present. I think it's important maybe first to highlight, though, just the extent of the harm that you're seeing from this industrial scale online scamming that's taking place really all along Thailand's borders, all three border countries, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia. Criminal actors are deeply embedded in all three. They've built very deep connections with militia groups, with the Myanmar military's border guard force, with the Myanmar military itself, with governments in Cambodia and in Laos, and they've really consolidated a web of influence that has enabled them to traffic people from 77 countries around the world since 2022. That's about the numbers that we're at now. And I think just over the past 10 or so days, once again, you're sort of seeing just the wide range of countries that are being impacted by the trafficking. You've seen out of this incident that's happened in KK Park that there's suddenly this influx of well over 1,000 now individuals. It's nearly 30 countries. I think I last saw it was 29. That there's still a couple of individuals where the nationality is unclear. But that gives you a sense, I mean, just in 10 days that there would be people from such a wide variety of countries around the world, really covering most continents that are coming out of these large-scale scam centers. The very brief version of how all of this started is that money from Chinese offshore online gambling syndicates has been plunged into basically remaking border areas into zones for offshore online gambling, which is illegal in China, and increasingly for online scamming. So that's kind of the bigger background story. That's where all of that money is coming at the start of the year, actually, when the Myanmar military's border guard force hung a very large sign up claiming that all of these online businesses would be gone before October of 2024. Well, I hope that no one held their breath, but you got to that time and they were still there. In fact, they continued to expand. Then you moved ahead to the start of this year when you had a series of Chinese influencers that were trafficked in, and the Chinese government sent very senior police officials who went back and forth across the border, and you saw once again large numbers, almost 10,000 people coming out of the scam compounds. And again, there were claims that this might be a death blow to the online scam syndicates. And yet, what happened? They continued to expand. In fact, they identified more tools to use. They identified new ways of accessing the internet. They introduced more aggressive tactics to traffic people from a broader range of countries. So again, you didn't really see anything change substantially other than perhaps the scam syndicates introduced even more new tools. And now we're seeing, once again, I think a bit more of the same. It's a slightly different script this time around, but the Myanmar military is now getting directly involved in KK Park. You've seen where there's been a movement into KK Park. This has triggered something of an exodus of large numbers of individuals. The military has made some claims that some individuals have been arrested, but there's no sense that anyone of significance has been arrested. In fact, we know quite well who is behind the major scam parks like the Shweikoko Yatai IHG or KK Park or some of these others. It's the border guard force itself, the Myanmar military's own border guard force. Its leaders are the ones that signed the contracts that provided the land, that provide the security on a day-to-day basis. I mean, those are the individuals that are behind this. Is the Myanmar military arresting its border guard force leaders? No, we don't really see that happening. Is the Myanmar military arresting high-level scam compound owners? No, those are the individuals that are involved in negotiations with the Myanmar military and the border guard force about how to achieve a new normal. Maybe a new balance of payments, perhaps, as the Myanmar military now realizes how lucrative this scamming activity is because of a couple of recent international developments that I'll get to here shortly. But there's no indication thus far that what's going on in KK Park means that this is going to be a systematic disruption of the scam compounds. In fact, even as this military activity in KK Park is playing out, you're seeing where many of the individuals that have left KK Park have actually moved into the neighboring Holly Park. They've gone into Shweikoko, and a lot of them are going into those scam hubs down to the south. Where you go down to Sangkhlaburi, you'll now find that there's a very large new scam compound that's been stood up, not in Sangkhlaburi, but in Three Pagodas Pass, about 10 kilometers across the border. This compound has in the range of 20 to 30 large buildings, 2-meter high walls with a moat around it on the inside. It's under the control of that same armed group, the DKBA, the Democratic Karen Benevolent Army, which has close ties to the Myanmar military's border guard force, but also is quite close to the Myanmar military itself. It's one of the very, very few groups that is openly supporting the Myanmar military's plans to carry out what is being referred to, I think, quite accurately as a sham election or a scam election earlier this year. In fact, I think of armed groups, the two armed groups that are publicly supporting this are the Border Guard Force and the DKBA, the two groups that are actually most involved on the Thai border and hosting all of these different online scam activities. So I guess one question, of course, is why is the Myanmar military targeting KK Park now, and why KK Park? I mean, again, you have 41 possible large-scale compounds that the Myanmar military could have selected. Why pick this particular one, and why right now? Well, I think there's been a couple of interesting developments that have played out in October, some related to the military itself, some related to moves by key members of the international community that have raised the stakes and have signaled that the international community means business a bit more on these issues. But then also you see where the Myanmar military is trying at this present moment to try to present itself as a more legitimate actor. So I think it's a combination of these three issues that relate to the timing. First of all, the Myanmar military itself. You've seen where the Myanmar military, with a dramatic amount of assistance from China, which is putting tremendous pressure on the northern ethnic armed organizations. In fact, another one of the northern ethnic armed organizations just succumbed to Chinese pressure over the last couple of days, as being the TNLA, one of the members of the Three Brotherhood Alliance that was involved in Operation 1027, which actually did eradicate some of the scam compounds in the Kokong Border Guard Force territory on the Myanmar border with China. You've seen where in that case, there's been some movement there. Apologies, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. So the Myanmar military, I guess getting back to it, it's seen with Chinese assistance that these ethnic armed organizations are entering into these ceasefire deals. It's starting to regain some territory up in the northern part of the country. And this is freeing up resources so that it can also deploy more of those resources, as well as more sophisticated equipment that it's getting from China and other countries into areas along the Thai border. So actually leading up to this operation that kicked off in mid-October at KK Park, the Myanmar military recovered a number of territories adjacent to that particular location, including Lake Haw, which is one of the townships that is right behind where the KK Park is located. The Myanmar military more or less brought that area under its control around the 5th of October. So what that means is it has more ability to operate on the ground in these areas adjacent to KK Park. Secondly, why KK Park? Well, KK Park, there's been a lot of disinformation put out there previously in the media about the ownership of the KK Park. So there's been claims that the KNU, there's been claims also made by the military, that PDFs, that all sorts of resistance actors have had involvement in the KK Park. Perhaps the KNU itself has not done the best job in terms of its own communications about this. And you have another issue where a neighboring park, not too far away, called the Huanya Park, which is also a significant scam hub, actually has some documented involvement from the KNU. So you see where a lot of media reports have actually confused these two locations. They've claimed that the Huanya Park, which is a couple of kilometers away, and in fact, I think the KNU just put out a statement on this, releasing some satellite images of where precisely these two locations are. But this is, I think, another reason why it would make sense for the Myanmar military to target KK Park. It has quite easy access because it has territories under its control that are adjacent to it now. Plus also there's a narrative about other actors, about the resistance being involved in KK Park. So I think it's interesting if you look at the Myanmar military's propaganda. When it went into KK Park, what did it say? It said that it was actually going into the KNU's scam center. It was going into a scam center that was under the control of resistance actors, under the control of PDFs, and it was liberating that. Well, that's not exactly what's going on. I mean, what's going on is that the Myanmar military's border guard force runs KK Park. The Myanmar military's border guard force is involved in the current operations. And there really is no involvement here at all of resistance forces. This is between the Myanmar military and the border guard force. So I think the selection of KK Park fits with that effort by the Myanmar military to deflect blame and to point to the scam center problem being a problem that has been created by a lack of Myanmar military control, which I think is ultimately the narrative that it's now trying to establish, that the Myanmar military going into KK Park somehow represents a solution to the problem. Clearly, though, the problem is not being resolved. It's instead being just displaced into other areas, and there still, I think, is the very likely scenario where KK Park, kind of resumes business as usual at some point in the near future. Of course, that's something that I think we'll have to keep a close look on. Now, a couple of other things related to the timing, because of course also in the month of October, you saw where the US, the UK, as well as Korea and China, 4 major countries, all made some pretty big announcements related to scam centers. On the part of the US and the UK, I think you saw where the largest seizure in history was unveiled, $15 billion in cryptocurrency related to the scam empire in Cambodia was seized by the US, and another $190+ million in assets was seized by the UK. This both shows, I think, the willingness of the US and the UK to start rolling out more aggressive strategies to protect themselves from this scourge of scamming, but also to begin targeting more precisely some of the kingpins that are behind this. So I think that was one thing that probably did register with the Myanmar military, that these countries seem like they mean business, but also, wow, the scam compound leaders, these kingpins have $15 billion sitting in bank accounts somewhere. For a military junta that is in pretty dire circumstances, that's a lot of money. So I guess it also raises the question, what the Myanmar military is getting from the scam centers right now, is it a good deal? Or perhaps they're not quite getting what they feel like they otherwise should get out of all of this scam activity. Then of course you have Korea, which has started taking some pretty bold actions also to protect its nationals, as it's come to light that you're seeing where there's upwards of also 1,000 Koreans that have been pulled actually into scam centers to scam other Koreans. And so Korea has actually also started freezing bank accounts. It's started to flex its muscles a little bit more to crack down, I think also showing quite a bit of resolve and signaling that it wants to play more of a role on the ground in dealing with this problem. And then I think the other development to highlight also is that China, for its part, Chinese courts announced that court proceedings on the 4th batch of Kokong Border Guard Force criminals started also in the month of October. In fact, about 6 days before this operation, you saw where the Chinese courts unveiled the case targeting Wei Ren, who might be compared to Chit Thu. He's basically the Chit Thu of Kokong. He's the leader of that border guard force up in Kokong. He's the one who actually had that border guard force up under his control. And interestingly, unlike the previous Chinese state media documentaries, which didn't really emphasize the role of the Myanmar military or the SAC in the scam center issue, this time around, Chinese state media did emphasize this. It did sort of play up this issue of Wei Ren and the fact that he used the formal border guard force structures to protect the scam centers, much like the Korean border guard force is doing down in the border. So I think all of these things happening, kind of leading up to this, it may also be the Myanmar military's attempt to try to both deflect blame, but also to try to reduce pressure, because you have so many countries that are now signaling that they mean business on this issue. Of course, leading up to an ASEAN summit, which I think, you even saw at one point that Ming Online was angling to participate in that summit, and ASEAN, I think, did, and in the end, not permit that to happen. So it was still non-political participation on the part of Myanmar at that summit. But again, leading up to the summit, this was also, I think, maybe a part of a Myanmar military push to try to gain legitimacy. So I think on the whole, what you're really seeing is more of the same, a slightly different iteration of the script, but this problem continues to be a major problem. As we're sitting here right now, you continue to see countless numbers of posts recruiting more people into these scam centers. This is not stopping as all of this activity is going on in KK Park. And in the meantime, the scam syndicate managers are busy going about setting up shop in other areas, expanding into other areas, and there's no indication that this problem is going away. It will continue to metamorphise, it will continue to, I think, take different formats, but the fundamental underlying challenges still remain.
Thanks, Jason. Wonderful context and perspective on regional problem. I'm going to go next to a lawmaker from the opposition Fair Party, Kun Kanavi Silsang, who's joining us from online. I think he's
คุณผู้ชม
traveling.
เมื่อสักครู่
He
เป็น
was
คุณ
supposed
เจ
to
สัน
be
ทาวเวอ
here
ร์
this
พูดถึง
evening, but
สา
he's
เหตุของ
traveling
การเกิด
urgently.
ในเรื่องของสแกมเมอร์นะคะแล้วก็รวมไปถึงในพื้นที่ฝั่งเมียนมาที่เกิดขึ้นในเมืองเมียวดีแล้วก็จุดอื่นๆด้วยนะคะก็มองว่าการปราบปรามครั้งล่าสุดเป็นเพราะว่าทางการเมียนมาต้องการที่จะคืนพื้นที่นะคะเกี่ยวกับความไม่สงบในประเทศแล้วก็เรื่องของปัญหาสแกมเมอร์หรือว่าตึกต่างๆที่เกิดขึ้นได้เป็นเพราะว่าทหารในพื้นที่นั่นเองนะคะคุณผู้ชมที่ทำให้เกิดขึ้นแล้วก็มีการเรียกรับผลประโยชน์กันรวมถึงการที่ทางสหรัฐอเมริกาอังกฤษมีการขยับในการปราบปรามสแกมเมอร์จริงจังก็น่าจะมีผลหรือว่ามีสิ่งอื่นเกิดขึ้นซึ่งรัฐบาลไทยก็ต้องจริงจังกับเรื่องนี้นะคะต่อไปเป็นคุณกนวีนะคะคุณผู้ชมไปติดตามกันค่ะ
be there. So I just landed in Malaysia to attend the ASEAN Parliamentarian for Human Rights. So this is the root cause of the problem. Because I'm here to talk about the democratization in Myanmar. So as you can see that these transnational criminals, they have been looking at the opportunities for this gun center and also at the same time for this online call center to take advantage. So they know that in Myanmar, for example, I heard from Jason that the issue of this KK part or the Draco for such and such, BCF such and such. So this is the issue of the when this criminal they look at the opportunity in Myanmar, they see the failed state. They can infiltrate into the weak the weak politics, and then they can establish their own business over there. So Thailand has been the hub for human smuggling and human trafficking. Thailand is the one that can receive the people because they have the policy that coincide with the opportunity for this transnational crime, which is mean free visa for 140 countries that can come to Thailand freely. So that's why this is the opportunities that this criminal they look at it. And they bring people, they lure people to come to Thailand, and then they distribute. They call this as a human distribution. So distribute human being to go to work as a workforce of this black business of the call center scammers in neighboring country of Thailand, Myanmar to Cambodia and also to Laos. So that's why. So everything is like a big the whole. It's like a puzzle that when the criminal they look at opportunity in each country. In Myanmar, it's a weak, it's a failed state. In Thailand, it's a weak policy. In Cambodia, state that this black business can utilize the Cambodian situation, and in Laos that the opportunities are open. So this is very difficult. So for me as the lawmaker and also from the legislative from Thailand, I think that we should join hands for like the government, Thai government should join hands with other government as well. So to raise issues and to put this cracking down of these transnational crimes as a regional agenda. So we did it the last week. We went for us. We went to IPU Inter-Parliamentary Union, and we also raised issue. We got the resolution on emergency item to crack down for the cybercrime. So this has been another attempt for us to raise the issue as a global agenda. So I think as a lawmaker, we need to be more rigorous in terms of looking at in the holistic approach. We should not just look at just only one human smuggling, human trafficking, or cracking down all the crimes on this cross-border. So we should put the pixel or the picture altogether as a big picture, and this one we can join hand in others. So I just would like to come here just to say hi and then to let everyone know that we will not stop. So for me, myself, I will not stop. I will continue working on this kind of the operation to work together to tackle with this transnational crimes. Just please be assured.
Thank you, Rakun Ganawi. Short and sweet, and good luck in Malaysia. I'm going to go next to Shalita. I think we've heard a lot, and it seems that there's a real picture emerging. Like, from the victims earlier from the Philippines, from Kenya, it's such a widespread. It's gone through social media. It's essentially involved a lot of non-state actors. But when we're talking about enforcement, we're talking about addressing the issue. We're kind of imposing it on state. Yeah, Jason talked about the US, UK, the Koreans, having sanctions. But how can nation state address this problem? It's such a challenge, right? I mean, Prishalita, maybe you can talk broadly about this and what do you think we should do?
Before I go to my 3 points, I would like to give some information. The first one is about the KK Park. The inside information that I got from KG, because the Myanmar military asked the money from KK Park, and KK Park didn't give the money to the military, so why they bomb that KK Park and make a lot of problem with the victims. But that is also a good way if you consider that because of the bomb, so that the victim was released and cross border to Thailand. The second information that I would like to share with you about Thai policy at the border right now. The foreigner who will fly to Mesot or take a car to Mesot right now, usually get Thai people to sign the document and also bring them out from the Mesot airport or talk with the checkpoint to bring the foreigner. This is one of the policy of the protection, but I think that is not enough. But it is better than nothing. My 3 points that I would like to bring it up. The first thing that the ambassador is also said that this crisis is also crime against humanity, and who will take responsibility to solve this problem. You also know about R2P, responsibility to protect. That is the role of international to do protection for this kind of the crime against humanity. It is a big issue, big crisis that is cannot solved by only 1 or 2 or 3 countries. It needs international community to come up and bring issue up and work together to support that. The second point that I would like to share with you about the role of Thailand and also ASEAN policy. You also can see that in the ASEAN summit, they also bring this issue up, Thai, Cambodia, and also the issue of this crime. But however, Thailand cannot solve this problem itself. It should be cooperate together with ASEAN countries before go to international, at least regional mechanism also can help and work together to support and work, to solve this problem, because this is the issue of ASEAN. From Myanmar they go to Cambodia, go to Laos, and now they go to Malaysia. So it's around the country of ASEAN. ASEAN country itself should take this issue as a priority, and also national issue and regional issue to solve the problem together. Next year, Philippines will be the chair of ASEAN. So I hope that Philippines will bring this issue up and make this issue to make more clear. And CSO ready to support ASEAN government on this issue. PTR also worked so many years about this now to solve this problem. So it is very clear with the CSO that we are concerned about this issue. We're waiting for policy, clear policy from ASEAN, from international to support and also come out with how to solve this problem together. In case of KK Park, we can see that around 1,000 of victims that cross border to Thailand. Okay, Thailand can provide some shelter, some food, to support them. Like Ambassador also mentioned that in the KBA, some area inside, many of the victims don't have food to eat. But to support the victim is need money. Some money support, and Thailand don't have enough money to support this 1,000 people of the victim. And we don't know how long that they will stay in Thailand, because it must be get good support from the embassy of each country to bring their own people back to their country quickly as possible. I know from from J and also Vidya that some country is also very cooperate, very support, but some country is not support. And you cannot leave that to Thai government to solve this problem alone. So I also say here right now, ask for all country, embassy, international community, donor to support this issue to solve the problem together. And the last point that I would like to bring it up about the criminal gangs. I think that in the past, China is also arrested some of them and bring to China to do the punishment, death sentence or something that depend on the country. But however, the international and also each country in their own country like Cambodia, Malaysia, Laos, Thailand is also should consider with this issue and also choose bring perpetrator go to the court. I don't know what court, maybe international ICJ court or what court, but they should bring to the court and also get the punishment from regional or international. Thailand, regional we don't have a human rights court yet, but I think that there should be have some mechanism that should be bring this perpetrator to the justice for the victim, for all the victim. Thank you so much. I stop here.
Thank you, Dr. I call lastly to พี่ยามถาปนีเกียรติชัย
ผู้ชมเมื่อสักครู่ก็มีการพูดถึงประเด็น3 พอยต์หลักๆนะคะคือในส่วนแรกคือการช่วยเหลือเหยื่อนะคะคุณผู้ชมไม่ควรผลักภาระประเด็นปัญหานี้ให้กับประเทศไทยเพียงประเทศเดียวอาเซียนควรร่วมมือกันในการแก้ไขปัญหาแล้วก็สำหรับเรื่องล่าสุดที่มีเหยื่อการค้ามนุษย์ควรมีการบริจาคนะคะคุณผู้ชมแล้วก็อีกเรื่องนึงก็คือเรื่องของการหาระบบยุติธรรมให้กับทางผู้ที่ดำเนินความผิดแล้วก็ให้ความเป็นธรรมกับทางเหยื่อที่ถูกหลอกไปนะคะต่อไปเป็นคำถามวันนี้ไปติดตามกันนะคะคุณผู้ชม
She will close the event, but she helped bring this event together.
ก็เชื่อมั่นว่าอย่างทั้งสื่อไทยและก็สื่อต่างประเทศเองก็คงจะได้ข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของเหยื่อการค้ามนุษย์หรือเรื่องสแกมเมอร์ที่เราเจออาจจะเป็นแค่เคสที่เมียนมาตั้งแต่ช่วงต้นปีที่ผ่านมาจากการทำงานอย่างหนักของคุณเจนะคะ
As a reporter, I think international media and local media have many accounts, report many accounts of victims of people out of scam centers, and all of this due to Jay's hard work.
จริงๆอย่างดิฉันในรีพอร์เตอร์แล้วก็ที่ทำข่าวนี่ก็ร่วมงานกับคุณเจตั้งแต่เคสเล้าไก่ที่ในรัฐฉานเมียนมาตอนนั้นเราทำข่าวกันทางออนไลน์เพื่อที่สัมภาษณ์คนไทยที่ตกเป็นเหยื่ออยู่ที่เล้าไก่แล้วเราสามารถช่วยพวกเขากลับมาได้500 กว่าคน
I mean, I first worked with Jay in the Lao Cai situation where we helped over 500 victims come returning.
Yes, 2 years ago นะคะ
2 years ago.
หลังจากนั้นเองนะคะเราก็คิดว่าจากที่เราจ่ายแล้วเนี่ยมันอาจจะหยุดพักไปแต่เรากลับมาพบว่าเมื่อช่วงปลายปีกลางปีที่แล้วเราเริ่มพบว่ามีชาวต่างชาตินะคะที่ถูกนำพาเข้าไปในเมืองเมวดีแล้วตกใจว่าช่วงนั้นที่เราได้ยินข่าวว่ามีคนจากยูกันดาฟิลิปปินส์เวียดนาม
Yeah, and you know, it was the middle of last year where we learned that there were a lot of trafficking to Melody on the Thai-Myanmar border, and we found that there were Ugandans, there were Filipinos, there were all these different nationalities being trafficked into these scam centers.
สำหรับนักข่าวที่ติดตามนี้ก็ยอมรับว่าตอนนั้นตกใจมากเพราะว่าแทบไม่น่าเชื่อว่าคนจากแอฟริกาซึ่งอยู่ไกลมากมาอยู่ที่เมืองเมียวดีซึ่งอยู่ตรงข้ามชายแดนของไทยเราได้ยังไง
I mean, as a reporter following all these different issues, it very surprised me to learn that there are people from so much far away places like in Africa and so on working just on the Thai border.
หลังจากนั้นดิฉันก็ลงพื้นที่นะเพื่อที่จะไปติดตามข่าวนี้แล้วก็ร่วมงานกับคุณเจเพื่อที่จะติดต่อส่วนหนึ่งที่คุณเจก็ได้รับการติดต่อการช่วยเหลือขอความช่วยเหลือมาจากเหยื่อนะคะหลายชาติด้วยกันแล้วเราก็เริ่มทำงานด้วยการนำเสนอข่าวการขอความช่วยเหลือจากเหยื่อเหล่านี้ซึ่งเป็นชาวต่างชาติ
And you know the way we work is that Jay get a lot of contacts through the victims, and and we work together to help them coordinate rescue efforts. Most of them are foreigners.
Yes. จนกระทั่งต้นปีที่ทุกท่านเห็นว่ามีปฏิบัติการในการช่วยชาวต่างชาติที่คุณกนวีก็น่าจะได้เล่าแล้วกรณีที่มีชาวต่างชาติ200 กว่าคนจากเคปาซึ่งในจำนวนนั้นก็คือมีชาวเคนยามีฟิลิปปินส์และมีญาติของหลายๆท่านที่ทุกท่านเห็นในภาพนี้นะคะก็คือกลุ่มที่เราได้พยายามนำเสนอข่าวแล้วก็ช่วยเหลือมาเมื่อต้นปีที่ผ่านมาค่ะ
At the beginning of this year, I was part working with Jay in helping 200 victims out of scam centers, actually KK Park early this year through the DKBA. Some of these were Filipinos and Kenyans, and some of the pictures you can see behind me, see around here.
จริงๆตอนนั้นเราก็ดีใจมากนะคะจากปฏิบัติการครั้งนั้นมันทำให้รัฐบาลไทยซึ่งตอนนั้นในช่วงของนายกเศรษฐาที่มีมาตรการ3 ตัดในการเอาจริงกับการปราบปรามสแกมเมอร์บริเวณชายแดนไทยเมียนมาค่ะ
I mean, this is really sort of push the Thai government to implement their policy to cut electricity and energy and so on to scam areas. And back then it was Thai government.
ซึ่งหลังจากนั้นประมาณ1 เดือนเราก็ได้เห็นการกวาดล้างสแกมเมอร์ในซูริโกโกเคเคปักและช่องแคบซึ่งก็มีการช่วยชาวต่างชาติมาเชื่อไหมคะ40 กว่าประเทศจำนวน 8,000 คนแต่ว่าในครึ่งหนึ่งในนั้น 5,000 คนคือคนจีน
And that led to sort of major operations at KK Park, at Shui Koko, at Chongkat, the Gap, yeah, where there were 8,000 plus people from almost 40 countries, but 5,000 of those were Chinese.
แต่น่าเสียดายว่าหลังจากปฏิบัติการในการที่ช่วยคนนั้นออกมาแล้วซึ่งมีการส่งมาในประเทศไทยแต่ไม่มีกระบวนการในการที่จะสามารถสืบสวนสอบสวนเพื่อขยายผลจากเหยื่อหรือแม้กระทั่งการคัดแยกเหยื่อจากการค้ามนุษย์นะคะก็ไม่สามารถที่จะมีหลักฐานที่คัดแยกว่าพวกเขาเหล่านั้นเป็นเหยื่อการค้ามนุษย์และไม่สามารถสืบสวนไปหาผู้ที่เกี่ยวข้องกับกระบวนการในการนำพาคนเหล่านี้มาเป็นสแกมเมอร์
And what was really regrettable was that many of these people that had come through Thailand that were liberated, there were not enough sufficient verification process to investigate how they were trafficked and no legal follow-up on who trafficked them and so on and so forth. So that was a missed opportunity.
โดยเฉพาะกลุ่มคนจีนซึ่งมีถึง 5,000 กว่าคน มันมีขั้นตอนคือคนจีนเนี่ยจะได้รับสิทธิพิเศษที่ข้ามมาแล้วก็จะใช้วิธีการผลักดันภายใน1 วันขึ้นเครื่องบินเช่าของรำกับจีนไปเลยโดยที่ไม่ต้องเข้าสู่กระบวนการใดๆในประเทศไทย
This is even true for the 5,000 Chinese who have this special process that we get repatriated in one day without going through any process here in Thailand. There were no investigation.
ซึ่งอันนี้เราก็พยายามตั้งคำถามถึงรัฐบาลว่าทำไมถึงเป็นแบบนี้แต่รัฐบาลในขณะนั้นก็ไม่สามารถที่จะมีคำตอบที่ชัดเจนได้ว่าทำไม
We raised this question to the Thai government, and the Thai government then just didn't have an answer.
แต่ก็รู้ว่ามันอาจจะมีกระบวนการบางอย่างในการที่จะตัดตอนไม่ให้เกิดการสอบสวนเพราะเราก็ทราบกันดีว่าคนเหล่านี้เขาเดินทางเข้ามาในประเทศไทยลงที่สนามบินสุวรรณภูมิอย่างที่ทุกท่านได้บอกรูทของการเดินทางแล้วว่าลงที่สุวรรณภูมิแล้วมาที่แม่สอดแล้วก็ข้ามไปที่เมียวดีนั้นมันต้องมีกระบวนการในการคอร์รัปชันหรือคนไทยเทาหรือคนที่มันเกี่ยวข้องกับกระบวนการนี้แน่นอน
This raises a major question about the way the role that Thailand plays, and maybe there's an attempt to really cut the verification process, not exposing people that help these people that clearly many of them travel through Thailand to get to these places through Suvarnabhumi and so on.
และปัญหาอย่างหนึ่งที่เราไม่สามารถบอกได้ว่าชาวต่างชาติที่แบบมาจากยูกันดากาน่าที่มีประเทศที่แบบยากลำบากมากที่มาถึงที่เนี่ยเขาเป็นเหยื่อการค้ามนุษย์เพราะว่าเมื่อเขาเข้าสู่ประเทศไทยที่เข้าสู่กระบวนการของไทยแล้วนักข่าวจะไม่สามารถที่จะสัมภาษณ์คนเหล่านั้นได้เพราะว่ามันมีกระบวนการขั้นตอนทางกฎหมายของไทยที่มันห้ามแต่ด้วยที่ว่าดิฉันทำงานอย่างคุณเจดิฉันก็ไปข้ามไปที่ช่องแคบด้วยตัวเองไปช่วยโคโกเองได้มีโอกาสในการสัมภาษณ์เหยื่อเหล่านั้นด้วยตัวเองจึงสามารถมีข่าวบางส่วนที่จะบอกได้ว่าคนเหล่านั้นคือเหยื่อการค้ามนุษย์
And many of these people, especially from Uganda, from Guinea, from all these different places, once they enter the verification process in Thailand, they are not allowed to speak to reporters. Reporters are not allowed to speak to them because there's a legal process involved in the verification. However, I cross over inside Chongkap into the KBA territory and talk to many of them to understand their plight.
ซึ่งนั่นคือสิ่งที่เราเสียดายมากกับคน10,000 คนที่ถูกนำพาเข้าถูกพากลับมาแล้วก็ส่งกลับประเทศหรืออาจจะไม่ได้กลับประเทศแล้วข้อมูลทุกอย่างมันสูญหายไปในครั้งนั้น
And this is still the same. It's very regrettable that those thousands of people that we were not able to get clear information about who trafficked them and so on, and they were sent back, some slow, some fast. But that gap is still there. We don't know who was responsible. No one take responsibility.
แล้วก็สิ่งที่ฉันได้เห็นคาดการไว้ก็มันก็เป็นจริงในวันนี้ที่เกิดปฏิบัติการที่ KK Park 2,000 คนที่รับช่วยเหลือ 1,500 คนที่รับมาณวันนี้มี 28 ประเทศซึ่งดิฉันก็เชื่อว่าถ้าไปตรวจสอบกันให้ดี 1,500 คนนี้ก็อาจจะเป็นคนที่ถูกทำพากลับมาซ้ำจากรอบที่แล้ว
And right now we're talking about the current situation with the operation at KK Park. We have almost more than 1,500 people crossing over in Thailand. Because there's a lack of actual verification, I want to raise the question whether some of these were re-trafficked. There were maybe victims from the first, from earlier in the year, and then they were brought back.
นี่คือสิ่งที่ฉันอยากจะให้ทุกท่านที่นั่งอยู่ที่นี่ซึ่งอาจจะเป็นองค์กรหรือคนที่ทำงานในด้านนี้ช่วยกันผลักดันให้ในครั้งนี้ค่ะเราต้องให้เกิดการตรวจสอบหรือสอบสวนนะคะจากเหยื่อที่ได้มาช่วยมาในครั้งนี้เพื่อจะขยายผลในการปราบปรามแก๊งนี้ให้ได้
I want to appeal to everyone here, those various professions, to push for this investigation, for this particular batch, so that we can really understand how they were trafficked.
โดยเฉพาะผู้สื่อข่าวนะคะเพื่อนผู้สื่อข่าวฉันก็มีความหวังว่าเพื่อนข่าวต่างประเทศหรือผู้สื่อข่าวไทยช่วยกันทำเรื่องนี้เพราะว่าเราไม่มีโอกาสแล้วที่จะแก้ตัว
Particularly us journalists, we have to really work hard on this. We might not have a second opportunity on this. We need to really push and find out how these people were trafficked. แล้วก็สุดท้ายคือภาพที่ฉันเห็นตอนนี้คือเพิ่งมีสัมภาษณ์ผู้เชี่ยวชาญไปบอกว่าจากเครือข่ายที่คือเรานึกถึงภาพคน40ประเทศทั่วโลกมากองรวมที่เมียวดีแล้วหลังจากนั้นมีปฏิบัติการเมื่อต้นปีแบบเรื่องปฏิบัติเพิ่งแตกรังที่ทุกประเทศย้ายกลับไปแล้วเชื่อไหมคะว่าตอนนี้คนเหล่านั้นที่กลับไปเนี่ยกลุ่มเครือข่ายเนี่ยก็พาไปตั้งฐานในประเทศตัวเองซึ่งเราพบว่ามีเป็นการตั้งฐานที่ติมอร์นะคะแล้วก็ประเทศในแอฟริกาในยูกันดาหลายประเทศซึ่งคุณเจสันก็น่าจะมีข้อมูลซึ่งใช่ไปตั้งฐานสแกมเมอร์ในประเทศเหล่านั้นมันคือมันเป็นการพอเพิ่งแตกรังที่เมียวดีในวันนั้นมันถูกกระจายไปทั่วโลก So from the first, from the initial operations early this year that we saw a burst of many of these scam centers, we found out later on that the scam operation have been spread out. There are scam centers operation in East Timor, in places in Africa. So even when we tackle one location, it spreads.
ค่ะนี่ก็น่าจะเป็นสิ่งที่เราอยากต้องทำงานกันต่อเพราะมันไม่ใช่เรื่องแค่ในไทยในเพื่อนบ้านในโซนอีสเอเชียแล้วแต่มันคือเรื่องของ global เรื่องของโลก
And we have to continue working on this because this is not just about Thailand or even the neighboring countries. It's a global issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kapitani. Thank you. I'm gonna bring in Kun Jae, but I want to before we go, please come up. Because it's a very rare occasion, I want to bring it back to the exhibition that we have, and you've seen the beds and the display and the photos. I think, Kun Jae, we have one of the victims, one of the relative of the victim, on the line from Pakistan. I'm just trying to bring it back to sort of the exhibition. So I want a quick word, maybe a couple minutes from Mr. Musamil. I got your name correct? Please, I guess just quickly share with us your thought and sort of what happened to your relatives and how he or she was trafficked.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. My name is Ramil and I am from family. And my brother has last 3 years in this Eco Park. Okay, and I just got news the social Eco Park. They just in last 1 week they killed 3 victims, 2 of Nigerians and 1 Chinese. There are 4 buses of Chinese. They electrocuted to these victims until more than 45 minutes and until they become dead. And then I don't know where they buried them, I don't know. But I am requesting to everyone also, very thankful to Mr. J. Kritya, she is too much helping us and all this entire
Recording in progress.
So I am requesting to everyone, please help us and help also in the Depot Park victims. They are very crucial and help on the earth. In just last 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, they killed 3 victims, 1 Chinese and 2 Nigerian. Thank you very much. And I am very happy to invite Mr. James J. Kritya to meet here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Muslimil. Thank you for sharing your relatives' experience. Kun Jay, I'm just going to bring you to close the event. Kun Jay, of course, worked for the Thai Civil Society Network for Human Trafficking Victims, and she's been instrumental and a key people and organization that works at the border that helps victims, coordinating with government embassies and also with journalists. So Kun Jay, I think a short word on what we put on today and sort of maybe your views on this whole situation.
เราพยายามช่วยเหลือผู้เสียหายนะคะตั้งแต่แค่20 กว่าคนนะคะจนไปถึง300 คนไปถึง 4-5,000 คนที่เรามีข้อมูลจากผู้เสียหายในที่การต่างๆ
I've been trying to help, we start off helping 20 people and become 300 and become thousands, and we're trying to coordinate with everyone.
คือมีความหลากหลายชาติมากก็อยู่ในหลากหลายพันธะมากแต่พวกเราก็พยายามติดตามเพื่อที่จะดูว่าพวกเขาอยู่ที่ไหนแล้วก็เข้าช่วยเหลือทุกคนเพียงแต่ว่ามันเป็นเรื่องที่น่าตกใจมากที่ในระยะเวลา2 ปีก่อนเนี่ยไม่มีความกระตือรือร้นจากหน่วยงานรัฐบาลใดที่จะเข้ามาพยายามเข้าไปช่วยผู้เสียหายเหล่านี้เลยโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งรัฐบาลไทย
And it's been very challenging. There are multiple nationalities and they're all spread out in different compounds and so on. But what is regrettable really in the last 2 years is that there's no real serious efforts from many governments to really go in and help people inside. And I want to highlight particularly the Thai government.
การเข้าไปช่วยเหลือคนของประธานาธิบดีเกาหลีใต้นะคะแล้วก็ช่วยเหลือในเวลาอันสั้นแล้วก็เด็ดขาดนะคะเป็นปฏิบัติการที่ทำให้เรารู้สึกดีใจมากแล้วก็เป็นการเปิดเผยครั้งแรกว่ามันมีเหยื่อที่ถูกค้ามนุษย์จริงๆในขณะที่คนไทยส่วนใหญ่เนี่ยไม่รู้ด้วยซ้ำว่าพวกเขาเป็นเหยื่อเป็นสแกมเมอร์เพราะทุกคนถูกเพ้นให้เป็นสีเทาหมดเลย
And what we've seen with how the South Korean handles it in Cambodia, and they were very forceful when we saw immediate result. It's really it's encouraging, and and there was a clear identification of who were victims and so on. Here in Thailand, there's still this murky definition of who's victims or whether there was scammers, and I think this is not helpful.
แล้วเราได้พยายามที่จะส่งหนังสือถึงนายกรัฐมนตรีเราเปลี่ยนนายกรัฐมนตรีมา2 คนแล้วนะคะแต่ก็ยังไม่มีท่านใดที่ให้ความสำคัญกับประเด็นนี้อย่างจริงจังเราพูดในเวทีโลกว่านี่เป็นสิ่งจำเป็นเราบอกว่าเป็นวาระแห่งชาติแต่ในทางปฏิบัติเราไม่ได้ทำอะไรเลย
I have sent 2 letters to 2 previous prime ministers, but there's still no real action from the government. This is I want to speak out to the international community that this is beyond it's a major agenda.
ล่าสุดนี้นะคะเราสรุปว่ามีผู้เสียหายที่ยังคงรอคอยความช่วยเหลืออยู่ไม่ต่ำกว่า30 พิกัดนะคะทั้งใน BGF และ DKBA และมีอยู่ไม่ต่ำกว่า200 กว่าคนเกือบ300 คน
And the latest data I have is that there are still about 200 plus victims stuck in about 30 locations this is the Thai-Myanmar border in DKBA areas and BGF areas.
พวกเขารอการช่วยเหลือมาหลายเดือนนะคะถูกทรมานบางคนเสียตาไปแล้วบางคนถูกข่มขืนบางคนเกือบที่จะเป็นบ้าพยายามฆ่าตัวตาย
And some of them have been raped, some of them have lost eyesight, they've been waiting for months.
จนถึงวันนี้นะคะก็ยังไม่มีความพยายามใดที่จะให้ความสำคัญกับการช่วยเหลือผู้เสียหายวันนี้ทุกท่านที่มาร่วมกันรวมทั้งทุกท่านที่นี่คือผู้ที่เป็นความหวังของพวกเขา
And right now, there's no real effort to really help these people. So, all of you here, I mean, this is a little hope for them.
ทุกภาพที่ท่านเห็นอยู่ข้างนอกคือเหยื่อล่าสุดชุดล่าสุดที่ยังรอความช่วยเหลืออยู่ในคอมพาวด์คือญาติจริงๆที่ยังรอความช่วยเหลืออยู่ตอนนี้ เซตนี้คือเซตล่าสุด
The picture that you see outside at the elevator area, those are the victims who are still stuck on the other side of the border. They are still waiting to be rescued. These are the real photo of them.
เราต้องการความร่วมมือจากโซเชียลมีเดียแพลตฟอร์มต่างๆมากกว่านี้นะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็น WhatsApp Facebook Meta หรือว่า TikTok นะคะรวมไปถึงโซเชียลมีเดียแพลตฟอร์มอื่นและ SpaceX
We also need help from a company that runs social media platforms, whether it's TikTok, WhatsApp, Facebook, and so on. We need their help to tackle this problem.
การช่วยเหลือผู้เสียหายแม้ว่าพวกเขาช่วยเหลือกลับมาได้นะคะแต่หลายครั้งก็ติดอยู่ในแคมป์เพราะว่าไม่มีเงินที่จะส่งกลับ
And sometimes when these victims are rescued, they are stuck in another camp because they have no resources, no money to travel back to their home country.
มีคนท้อง มีคนที่เจ็บป่วย มีคนที่ต้องการการผ่าตัดด่วน มีคนที่ต้องแท้งไปนะคะ เพราะมันไม่มีใครที่จะเหลียวแลพวกเขา
And I've seen people that got miscarriage, that lost, function of their body, that lost a lot of things while waiting because no one was helping them.
นี่เป็นปัญหาใหญ่ระดับโลก แต่ว่าพวกเขาไม่ได้รับการช่วยเหลือ เราควรจะร่วมมือกันทุกๆระดับ แล้วเราควรจะทำให้มันสำเร็จ เพราะว่าพวกเขาฝากความหวังเอาไว้จากการที่เราจัดนิทรรศการในครั้งนี้มากๆค่ะ
This is a global problem, and we really owe it to these people to help them, and it's all of us need to help them.
ค่ะวันนี้ก็ขอบคุณทุกท่านที่สละเวลามาขอบคุณท่านกงสุลนะคะที่เดินทางมาร่วมจากแทนซาเนียแล้วก็วันนี้ก็ได้นำอาหารมาร่วมด้วยนะคะวิทยากรทุกท่านนะคะแล้วก็ท่านอดีตเอกอัครราชทูตนะคะเคนยาซึ่งได้ช่วยเหลือมาตลอดนะคะแล้วก็ขอบคุณทุกท่านที่วันนี้จะไม่ปล่อยให้เรื่องนี้เงียบไปขอบคุณญาติๆทุกคนนะคะเพราะทุกคนยังสู้เพื่อที่จะให้คนที่เขารักได้กลับไปอยู่กับครอบครัววันนี้คงพูดสั้นๆแค่นี้ขอบคุณทุกท่านมากค่ะ
And I would like to thank everyone, all the panelists, all the
คุณผู้ชมนี่ก็เป็น
joiners for coming.
เสวนาเปิดเวทีพูดถึงเรื่องของปัญหาเหยื่อค้ามนุษย์และสแกมเมอร์คอลเซ็นเตอร์ในพื้นที่ชายแดนไทยนะคะซึ่งก็พูดย้อนไปตั้งแต่ถึงการปรับปรามในพื้นที่เล้าไก่ก่อนที่จะมีการขยับขยายมายังจีคิพาร์คแล้วก็รวมไปถึงในจังหวัดเมียวดีในจุดอื่นๆไม่ว่าจะเป็นชวกกโกหรือว่าสถานที่อื่นๆนะคะคุณผู้ชมซึ่งก็มีในส่วนของวิทยากรที่มาพูดถึงงานต่างๆไม่ว่าจะเป็นทั้งนักข่าวเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของในพื้นที่ทั้งฝั่งฟิลิปปินส์ฝั่งไทยแล้วก็รวมไปถึงนักการที่เกี่ยวกับเรื่องของอาชญากรรมข้ามชาติโดยเฉพาะที่มีการพูดเจาะในเรื่องของปัญหาสแกมเมอร์คอลเซ็นเตอร์ในพื้นที่ต่างๆนะคะคุณผู้ชมแล้วก็มีข้อเสนอแนะถึงรัฐบาลด้วยเดี๋ยวหลังจากนี้จะมีในส่วนของการถามคำถามจากทางผู้ที่มาร่วมงานนะคะเดี๋ยวเราไปติดตามกันค่ะ
To this extraordinary situation. I guess my question is, well, I've got two questions, I guess. The first one is, why is it that all of the countries around Thailand, the scam centre seem to originate in all the countries around Thailand, Cambodia, Laos and Myanmar, of course. Myanmar has the situation of the civil war, but leaving aside the recent border dispute with Cambodia, Laos and Cambodia are not at war. There are suggestions that the Cambodian government has some kind of indirect involvement. There was an article recently in the British media about $15 billion being laundered through London property, for example, by somebody who's a Cambodian British citizen of Chinese origin. So that's really my first question. And the second is, there's been a lot of references to advocacy and so on, but what can really be done in practical terms to start trying to have these centres shut down? Because although there's been reference to an increase in media exposure, it also seems that the centres are growing, they're not shrinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who would like to take these two questions? Jason, I'm looking at you.
Sure. I mean, I think first of all to highlight that yes, Thailand is surrounded by countries that have quite deep problems with corruption, quite deep problems with poor governance. In Myanmar, extreme problems with just many different militia groups that have deliberately, as part of the Myanmar military's historical nation-building strategy, become involved very deeply in illicit activity, and this is not a new thing. I think what you're seeing there is the most recent iteration of it, where you're seeing high-tech online scams kind of coming into many of these different areas. You know, I guess if you trace the history, all three of these countries provided space for large-scale casinos. Later on, it turned to offshore online gambling, and then out of offshore online gambling kind of grew the most recent iteration of this, which is these massive scam compounds. A lot of the infrastructure that they're actually currently operating in was designed a few years back as places to host offshore online gambling that a lot of these Chinese offshore online gambling syndicates were involved with, and you saw where that pivoted to scamming. But you know, again, in terms of understanding why it's these three countries, I think it relates very much to corruption, poor governance, and then of course the situation you've had in Myanmar for decades that makes it kind of very fertile ground for illicit activity. I think on the second question, what can be done? You know, I think what's quite interesting about what happened very recently with this US-UK move, and then later on, I think Korea's become involved in a very similar way, targeting the same networks, is this was an effort to systematically go about mapping one of these criminal networks, looking at all of the different nodes where they were laundering the money, looking at all the different businesses that appeared on paper to look like legitimate businesses, but actually were involved in laundering huge amounts of scam money. What this effectively has done is that it's cut off the financing to one of these nodes, right? I mean, in the case of you know, this transnational criminal syndicate that was targeted in Cambodia, there's over 140 entities that were targeted, including banks. And so that, I think, was a disruption. Now, is that enough to end this? No, but I think it does kind of give us a model we can build on, right? I mean, what if next time around it's 8 or 9 countries that are getting together and doing the same thing, and they're mapping out maybe a dozen of these different networks. They're following a similar model. I mean, what you have seen with Cambodia in terms of getting access into the formal financial system, in terms of having all of these different entities that appear to be involved in real estate or restaurants or other related businesses or cryptocurrency trading entities, so on and so forth. I mean, there are other networks like this that could similarly be mapped, designated, and targeted. I think that's a model that can be followed. Again, what that's going to require, though, is following the money, doing a lot more tracing of where all this money is going, and then it's also going to require building out more and more international cooperation. So it's encouraging to see US, UK, Korea getting involved in this way, but again, can this be 8, 9 countries kind of together doing the same sort of thing? And I think then you can start to make more of a dent in this and maybe start to see a more systematic disruption, particularly if you get all of that to hit at the same time.
Great. Chandra, please.
I would like to share a little bit. I think that we cannot give any hope to any government in ASEAN countries. So that's why I said that the international community should play some role, and also to do the pressure to the government. You can see that what happened in Myanmar, our friend also shared with that, in Cambodia, the government itself support the scammer. And also now they move to Laos, and you see who is control Laos government again. And you see this business is make money, a lot of money, that the scammer don't want to stop because it's easy to get the money. They don't care what happened with the victim, they don't care what happened with any kind of the people who will get in trouble. So I think that this is the thing that international community should pay more attention, and also bring this issue up, and also pressure more to the government. Also the role of the media should do a bit more.
Thank you. Do you want to answer?
I want to add something. So it's becoming cyclical, especially the scam hubs are not only in the Metro region but also in the Philippines. Actually, I think most of those working in scam hubs in Myanmar, they were also scam workers in the Philippines, many of them. So, just like what Kunchalida said, there is really no hope. Let's look at it in a very practical way. Until there is poverty and corruption, there is no hope for that. It will go on and on.
Ambassador Kittiness, I think you have your hand raised, sir. Ambassador?
Just a quick one. Just a quick one. And there's something called state capture that sometimes I like talking about, state capture by criminals. I want to believe that some of the countries in the region have been captured by some of these, high-riding mafia gangs or leaders. I have heard or even come across articles where some leaders have even received or have used jet planes donated by some of these mafia gangs to attend even UN meetings or to attend international meetings across the world. So there is a serious problem of state capture in some of the Southeast Asian countries that you don't need to explain why would you have several scam compounds in your own country purporting to be investing, hosting 5,000 foreigners crying out for help. You mean that compound or those compounds cannot be taken down? It only means that somebody is looking the other way. So that boils down to corruption. I also want to encourage countries that are members of the Human Rights Council, like Thailand and my own country, Kenya, at the moment, to bring up this conversation at the Human Rights Council on the human rights abuses going on in these compounds in these countries and call out some of these criminals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Last question, please.
Maybe he's got a similar question. I'm John
Can you combine?
I'm John Robinson, I consult Finnick. I went to Shenzhen and I was on a boat trip to these huge condos. But my question is, when these people call you up every day saying +97 numbers, I'm a call, and every Thai person next to you says scammer, scammer. I mean, should we now be saying, can I help you? Are you okay? That's what his question is about too.
Okay, please.
Yeah. So I'm Oliver. So I'm currently contacted Human Rights Foundation in Myanmar and Thailand. So I'm a dummy. So I heard about the scammer or the victim from other countries, right? But there's a lot of victims that are dummies in the scammer thing here, right? So I want to ask Jason that did you find out any cooperation with local NGO and international community working together to also focus on the Burmese victim on the scam center? Yeah. So this is my question. Thank you.
Okay. So there's actually two layers there: the Burmese victims, but also the idea that we offer help to people that try to scam us. I think Jason, because others want to go first. Jason, please. I'm sorry.
Maybe on the second question, I will say that for a lot of individuals from Myanmar, I mean, when you're facing forced conscription, when you have very limited choices given the current economic situation in the country, there are people who maybe feel like there's no other choice than going into scam centers. And I think that there are a lot of efforts by media and by Myanmar media and by Myanmar civil society to try to help people who are trying to avoid forced conscription or to avoid or to receive help if they're part of the CDN movements, or if they're looking for other opportunities. There's a lot of efforts by local Myanmar civil society to try to play an important role there. So I think one way of maybe helping individuals from Myanmar who might get pulled into or lured into scam centers is to help these different civil society initiatives, help different media initiatives that are doing reporting on what happens inside of the scam centers, how bad conditions are inside of the scam centers, and so on. That's and there are a number of media outlets that are doing a lot of that work. I know quite a few of them, from Irrawaddy to DBB to Mizama to Kitbit. I mean, there's a lot of Myanmar media that have reported on this, and there's also different civil society initiatives that are helping people who are trying to avoid forced conscription, or who are deserters, defectors, or in those types of circumstances. So I think these are ways that, in terms of providing assistance in Myanmar, that more of a role could be played if there's more assistance that can go into some of these areas.
Great. Any other takes?
Yes, I would like also to say that the NGO is very small, very, very small, and many of the Burmese organizations living in Thailand, many of them is illegal. They cannot bring the issue up and play a role as a protection in the public. So why Kujay is also set up this coalition to support the victims. And when we consider as a small of the NGOs, very small, government never do anything. We as NGOs, we try to do as we can do. For example, we also support some food, we also support clothes, we also support napkin, and also try to bring that cross-border to support people in the DKPA camp inside. And also we communicate with the Thai military to understand and let us go. So we do as we can do. Some of the victims that we rescue, my organization also bought the ticket to let her go to the country immediately, because we know that she should go back to her home quickly as possible. And then we also lucky that there are some international organizations that support the money for the ticket. So at least we try to do, but very small scale.
Questions there.
นี่เดียวนะคะเรารู้อยู่แล้วว่ามีผู้เสียหายอยู่ประมาณ100,000 คนถึง120,000เนาะอย่างต่ำเราไม่ได้เตรียมการอะไรสำหรับพวกเขาเลยแล้วเรายังไม่มีการหาดูกันว่าเราจะช่วยพวกเขาออกมายังไงแล้วคนที่ถูกยึดโทรศัพท์แล้วก็ติดต่อโลกภายนอกไม่ได้เนี่ยมันเยอะมากเนาะ
There are more than 100 to 120,000 victims that we know of, and it's very difficult to explore the way we can help them in terms of these, and a lot of them don't have phones, access to they get their phones confiscated.
ก็เป็นเรื่องที่ไม่มีใครที่ทำ
And it's very difficult.
แต่อยากเพิ่มคุณเจนิดนึงว่าเป็นเรื่องที่น่าอายมากเราทำงานกัน9 เดือนใช่ไหมคะว่าคุณเจแล้วก็ท่านทูตทั้งหลายประเทศเราทำงานกันผ่าน WhatsApp รวมถึงมีสื่อมีเครือข่ายของ NGO นะคะ CSO แล้วก็ทุกหลายประเทศเราทำงานผ่าน WhatsApp กันโดยไม่มีรัฐบาล
And I want to add to Vijay, we've been working for 9 months, coordinating between reporters, NGOs, embassies, and so on. We work all through WhatsApp. Where's the government in all this communication?
ตั้งแต่กุมภาพันธ์5-6 เดือนเลยไม่เคยเห็นรัฐบาลไทยที่เปลี่ยนมา3 นายกเลยค่ะ มีการประชุมร่วมกับอย่างน้อยคือประเทศที่เหยื่อที่เรารับช่วยเขามายังไม่เคยเห็นการจัดการประชุมที่จะ take action สำหรับการช่วยเหลือแม้กระทั่งแบบเรื่องของทางมนุษยธรรมกับแต่ละชาติ
And I've seen, no meetings that have taken place between Thai government and countries that where the victims come from, like proper meetings to coordinate the rescue efforts.
และนี่จะเป็นปัญหาสำหรับประเทศไทยด้วยที่ไม่ยอมรับว่าไทยเราคือทำงานแล้วก็มีเรื่องของเหยื่อการค้ามนุษย์แล้วก็อาชญากรรมที่ร้ายแรงที่เกิดขึ้นจากประเทศไทยจริง
And this is a problem for Thailand because I think there's the attitude, the prevailing attitude in Thai government is that they don't want to recognize that Thailand is part of the criminal pathway, that these issues are happening, so they've been avoiding this.
We have Surbright, we have Pathfinder, we have a lot of new technology that we've never used it.
Okay, so that.
One question?
Okay, make it very quick. I want to wrap it by 9. So.
Okay, so Natty from Natty Loves Myanmar Facebook page. So in related to this question, because I haven't really heard or seen the role of NUG in relation to like helping these victims, especially Myanmar victims. So I mean, if any panelists have any information on this and the role of NUG in solving or helping, assisting with this situation. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Anyone want to make a quick comment on the NUG action? I know I've seen actually one statement or something, but I mean, they're not really on the ground. That's a problem.
There are in Messong. Yeah, there are some of them are in Messong.
I mean, I guess I would point out in response to this question that the most significant action you've seen in Myanmar that has led to a pretty significant disruption of this on the China border was advanced by 3 ethnic armed organizations, the MNDAA, TNLA, and AA back in October of 2023. I mean, when Operation 1027 kicked off, that operation was framed as eradicating scam centers and eradicating the Myanmar military from the areas around Kokong and in the northern part of the country. And what that basically did was it brought down 4 actors within the Myanmar military's border guard force that basically had been fully involved in setting up all of the scam centers up in that particular territory. They had built deep ties with the Chinese mafia groups and were perpetrating scams all across China and beyond. They fell because of that operation. So, you know, I think if you then look at what's played out since, those groups have, for some time after that, they continued to fight the Myanmar military to liberate more towns, to work with PDFs. You know, those relationships, I think, grew deeper, and you know, it's been more recently that there's been a very significant shift in terms of China not allowing that type of revolutionary activity on its border. So, you know, I think it's unfortunate to see that some of the successes of that operation have now started to be undone a little bit. But if I can point to an example of where resistance actors in Myanmar played a very significant role in eradicating scam centers, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing you have. I mean, right now there are not major scam centers up in Kokong because of that operation, and that was led by resistance actors. And yeah, it wasn't the National Unity Government directly involved in that, but the National Unity Government was definitely supporting Operation 1027.
I can say that I respect NUG, but however, we can consider that their leadership role is very weak. We have a chance to talk with them on their strategy, about the cross-border security issue, scammer issue, and also about the strategy on Rohingya, strategy on many strategies that NUG should lead, and also public side to the communities to understand what is their strategy. But I never get any response from NUG.
Okay. So on that note, I would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Please, I guess, take more look at all the exhibition. And also I mentioned the food, Tanzanian food and Filipino. So you want to speak? Oh, okay. We have a quick word from the Consul of Tanzania, please.
Maybe just one second. I appreciate for the present organization here today. The problem that we're discussing or we're hearing today, actually it's too late. It started a long time ago. And what actually we're discussing now, most of the things, these are the things we heard quite often, and just like Mr. Tao mentioned here, all this is happening is just only disruptions. and the effort is quite a lot, and it's affecting globally. And the only way we could be talking here is to find a way how to resolve this problem. Some of us, we are old enough to remember the period of Golden Triangle. That was very hard, and it was resolved. It's the same way that Ms. Eunice and the lady here mentioned, there is no hope. There is no little hope. Because in Cambodia, what's happening is different from what happened in Myanmar. We have Tanzanians, we have nationality from Uganda, Kenya as well, still in Myanmar. And what should be done? There's no way. There's no way you can actually go resolve the problem there. But the international community and the victims are not only in other countries, that in maybe neighboring Thailand, but we have victims far away from this area, Tanzania and Kenya. Victims also in Europe and America. These are the victims financially, I mean, money and whatever monetary. But the only people who help and able to do this in terms of proper disruptions that we just discussed is technology. At the moment, we advise, I think, remember, we had a meeting sometime May or June. We proposed awareness. And awareness is not like just go to explain to people, start with authorities, agents from the government, I could say immigration and airlines. Airline staff, we're training. We propose they should be trained to try to monitor passengers. There is a pattern. Somebody traveling from Kenya, from Tanzania, all the way to Cambodia. The only one way to go there is through Thailand. So the only way, here is to find either we can't prevent but determined can be encouraged so that they could ask them where are you going and what are you going to do in Cambodia, what are you going to do in Myanmar. In this way the airline are trained properly to read the patterns and prevent this to happen, and it worked. We are proud to say this has worked. But we talk about technology, we could ask the bigger victims financially in Western countries to find a way to develop proper softwares and other means that will be able to detect, not the money trail, but also the way these people work. And they use communication channels like Signal and other, social media, but they have only reliance on Signal and Telegraph. So if these two big companies, tech companies, can cooperate and communicate and find a way how to detect the conversation and other things that actually lead to what's going on, it could be very helpful. We talk about this scheme and the scammers and whatever happens, but attention is just within Southeast Asia. Very few or very rare you hear them paying attention to people in Kenya and Tanzania and Africa. We had more than 1,000, I could say 10 to 50,000 of victims being lured to the scammer camps in Myanmar and Cambodia. And I think it's time also to pay attention to the victims in East Africa, including Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Foreign, Maury, the honorary consul.